Welcome to C-Suite on Your Street, a show where we talk about what you need to know to start, run, and grow your small business. I'm LaTanya Howard, your host and a fellow small business owner of Howard Corporate Center right here in the city of Laurel. On this program, we speak with entrepreneurs and experts on a wide range of business topics. Our goal, to share resources, tips, and tricks to help you operate and think like a CEO, wherever you are on your entrepreneurial journey. Today's guest is Eric Chesler, founder of My Content Company, an online marketing services agency based in Laurel. Mr. Chesler is no stranger to entrepreneurship. He started his first company in 2008 and his second in 2016, and he especially enjoys working with small businesses. For the past few episodes on this show, we have discussed the importance of marketing your business and resources to help you to do so. Today, we're going to wrap up the marketing series with a topic I'm sure you're familiar with: social media. Mr. Chesler will provide some basic information and guidelines about social media and how it can be effectively used to help market your business. Mr. Chesler, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So tell us a little bit about your background and your entrepreneurial experience.
Yeah, so I started my entrepreneurial journey working for my dad's picture frame company in Baltimore. And when I started working for him, the first thing he had me do was ramp up his online marketing. From there, I found a great opportunity to work with other small business owners with their online marketing, grew my first business. That business I sold 4 years after starting it. And then in 2016, I started up again with the focus to really go back to the small entrepreneur and help them with all of their online marketing.
Okay, excellent. I'm so glad that you enjoy working with small business owners as a small business owner myself. Tell us a little bit about what motivates you to work specifically with small businesses, or rather why you enjoy working with small businesses more so than larger businesses.
So with small businesses, the owner is always the person I work with, which is nicer than working with a marketing director of a large company. The owner of the business is more passionate, they're more driven, and they're really excited about the work that we're going to do together. And that passion keeps me wanting to work with those smaller companies.
Yes, sir. Yeah, small business owners are pretty cool. I will say that. I'm going to speak for all small business owners in that regard. So your company provides an array of marketing services, newsletters, and others as well. But social media is part of your portfolio. And as I mentioned in the opening, we've talked about a number of different marketing aspects for the past few episodes, but social media is something that is all over the place nowadays. You just really can't avoid it. So I want you to help the viewers to sift through how they can use social media specifically to leverage it to help promote their business and move their business towards their goals. Let's start off by you telling us exactly what social media is.
So social media is any one of the websites that we all probably use on our phone, on our computer, more hours than we're working. It's Facebook, it's Twitter, it's Instagram, it's LinkedIn. And there are platforms in which people can share their own content, they can interact with their friends, and join a community all from the comfort of the keyboard.
Okay. So tell us about the specific types of platforms that are out there and the ones that you would think small business owners should focus on the most for their business.
So we focus a lot on the written word. So the big platforms we work in are Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Those are the big three that we work with the majority of our clients with.
Okay, and why those three more so than, the Pinterest and the Snapchat and the Twitter, for example?
So Snapchat's become such an instant platform, it's hard for us to be in our customer's location all the time to put the content out. Twitter, we're finding B2C, business to consumer, has really been the focus, and our focus tends to be a little bit more business to business, so we don't have an opportunity to work on that many platforms. And then Pinterest and YouTube, they're really driven by craft or video, things that we don't produce in-house.
Okay. All right, and I'm glad that you mentioned B2B and B2C. We'll come back to that a little bit, but let's talk about the importance or the relevance of social media from a personal perspective versus a business perspective and how the behaviors are different. And the reason why I ask this is because, as we were talking about before we began taping, sometimes people feel that they just have to be posting something on social media just to keep up with the pace of what everybody else seems to be doing. But there is a difference between posting for personal reasons and posting for business reasons. Can you tell us a little bit about what that distinction is?
Yeah, when you're posting on social media for personal reasons, it's really whatever you're feeling, whatever you're up to, whatever you're interested in, and you're not worried about what customers are talking about. You're not worried about upsetting anybody. These are personal beliefs, what you're eating for dinner, vegetarians versus not, whatever it may be. The personal is just what you're doing in life. Business, you have to be a little more strategic with it. You have to worry about how people are going to respond. You can't say the wrong thing. We see every week another social media blunder. out there. So while on personal you don't worry about that, on business you're really focused on what are people seeing, how are they reacting, is that going to help grow my business, am I going to upset customers, make customers happy, grow my following. So there has to be some strategy behind it.
Right. So when you're posting for business purposes, it's important one for viewers to understand there's a difference in the approach that you take when you're posting for business reasons as opposed to personal reasons. And there's also a difference in how you post and what your specific goal is.
Absolutely.
For posting. Okay. So you mentioned earlier B2B and B2C, business to business and business to company. How do those types of dimensions come into play with social media?
So with social media, your B2B or B2C are really going to determine what platforms you use, how you use them, and when you use them. So a B2B company, a company that works to service other businesses, like my company, for example, all of my customers are businesses. I don't have any homeowners as customers.
Right.
So our content is going to be focused on how we can help other businesses. It's going to be focused on content during the workday when they're at their computer. When a B2C company, a car dealership, for example, they're mostly selling to the consumer. They're going to want to post content that appeals to people's consumer side, as well as at times of the day when people are not focused on business, but are then focused on their personal needs.
Okay.
I might be looking for a car at my lunch break or at home in the evening, not necessarily at 10 a.m.
Okay. So when we talk about business to business, like you said, companies that work primarily with other businesses, would you say that LinkedIn is the better of the three platforms between LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook? Would LinkedIn be the better platform to focus on for B2B, or would you say something else?
I normally recommend people start with LinkedIn if they're a B2B company. The only caveat is that Facebook is the largest platform out there. So no matter who you are and what you're marketing, I say you have to be using Facebook these days.
Okay. And if your primary audience is consumers, which platform would you say would be the better one of the three?
So that would be a combination of Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
Again, everyone should be on Facebook. The next step would be LinkedIn for business and Instagram for consumer.
Okay. Now, as far as including social media as part of your marketing portfolio, as we talked about before, it's not necessarily going to be equal for all companies. So one company may use social media as its predominant marketing portfolio, whereas another company may not. So how would a company be able to determine how long or how much social media should represent as part of their overall marketing portfolio as opposed to, say, newsletters or mailers or something else?
Yeah, that really comes down to the individual company and what their goals are. So just like any other form of marketing, you have to do a dive into social media and how it's going to benefit you, what your goals are, and then find the right amount to use for your overall company, for your specific goal. And most companies are doing advertising campaigns for the whole year, for the month, for a single promotion. So each platform, each type of marketing, online, offline, are all going to be used different for all of those different campaigns. So for each campaign, you have to start from the top and work down to figure out which marketing channels are going to be the best ones for it.
Okay. So how do you actually, before we go into the next topic about social media, how do you help your customers determine this? I mean, because for a small business owner or a relatively new business where all of this can be very overwhelming, I would imagine they're going to need some support navigating all of these different platforms and all of these types of activities that go into managing social media. How does your company help small businesses do that?
We start every project for every client with a sit-down consultation. And if they're across the country, we do it via the phone. But the idea is that we need to know exactly what their goals are to then recommend the right platforms, the right posting schedule, the right consistency, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, very good. All right, so let's talk about, how to effectively use social media for your business, because it's one thing to be on social media and it's one thing for it to be an effective use of social media. So just because you're on social media doesn't mean that you're necessarily getting the return or the response that you want to get. So one of the first steps that we've talked about is building out a profile. Tell us exactly what that means to build out a social media profile.
Every social media platform has a different level of requirement for what they want in that profile design, whether it's just a single picture and 140 character description, or if it's multiple images, services offered, story about the company, contact information. So you have to go into each platform and build that out completely so that when someone visits that, they can get as much information as they possibly can.
Okay. And how, when we talk about building out the profile and having content within the profile itself, what exactly is content, and how does a small business owner know or assess whether or not the content is adding any value for its followers?
Right. So content is anything you write, any picture you've taken, any video you've recorded, all that information that you're then going to be able to post online would fall into that content bucket.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So one of the things that, I've gone to a number of social media types of trainings before, and there are different schools of thought on how much of your content should be original and how frequently you should post and what day of the week, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess it's a different mix of things. But based on your experience and your expertise, how frequently should people be posting, and how much of the content should actually be original versus just sharing something else?
It is somewhat platform dependent, but we think that the minimum should be 3 times a week. Content should be posted. And just like everything in business, we apply the 80-20 rule.
Right.
We think 20% of the content you post should be original. The other 80 should be sourced from other places.
Okay, and one of the things where a company like yours can come into play is to help to develop some of that original content, or is that not the case?
That's absolutely what we do.
Okay.
We feel that the small business owner is just too busy to
Okay.
produce their own content, so we
Okay.
help them there.
Okay, very good. So what about making sure that the page itself is adding value? How do business owners go to the page? How do they monitor? How do they actually engage with customers on the platform?
So we say the first thing to do is just start posting. And each one of your posts I would make unique and different than the other. And we like to track what types of posts are getting more interaction. Is live video getting more interaction than a link to an article? Is a photo getting more interaction than text only? And your first month, you're doing a lot of trial and error to see how people react. And it's going to be different per platform. It's going to be different per audience, per business. And then each month you hone that further and further. You're always testing, you're always trying, and you're always chasing. Social media is changing
Right.
every day.
Right.
So the moment you think you have it figured out, you probably don't. And it's changed all over again. And you're going to keep testing and keep working to perfect that message.
Okay. Now, I know you said that you work with companies in different industries. Tell us a little bit about the different types of industries that you do represent and how social media affects, their achievement of their goals.
Yeah, so we do a lot of work with the trades and home services, your exterminators and landscapers and plumbers. And they do really well as seasons change, needs change. The beginning of the year, the landscaper needs to remind their customers that we can come cut the grass. And in the winter, the chimney sweep needs to say, get your chimney cleaned before you use it the first time. On the flip side, we do a lot of financial and business services, mortgage officers, financial advisors, and their content is more educational. We're here to help. We know the industry. We're monitoring the changes. And their ROI is different in those two industries. The way they track it is different. Some industries can put up a post and immediately get a phone call and make money. The others have to build that trust, that rapport,
Right.
so that they can then monetize that social platform.
And that's an excellent point, because I think sometimes when we think about social media for marketing, the reason why you have social media isn't necessarily to generate leads or to immediately convert a like to a customer. Sometimes it's about establishing yourself as a subject matter expert, or just building a reputation for yourself. Tell us a little bit about the two faces of social media in terms of using it to generate leads versus using it to let people know that you are a subject matter expert and to educate, like you just mentioned.
Right. I think that comes down to the industry that you're in and setting the right expectations when you start your social media campaign. If you're a mortgage officer, you can't expect that in 3 to 6 weeks of Facebook posts to have closed a lot of loans. It's not the industry for that. People have to trust you. It takes their time to get to know you. And that's where being that subject matter expert comes into play. If you sell clothing online, you know that pretty quickly you can put up a coupon on Facebook and convert that right into leads. So a lot of people start their social media journey and they expect that it's going to make the phone ring right away.
Right.
And they have to pause that and go back to their plan and say, realistically, what can I expect? And sometimes the only thing you can expect from your social media campaign is to build that rapport and to show that you're the expert, so that when someone's ready, you're the one that they call.
Right.
And that's more valuable than people think it is.
Right, very good. And I think that is an important note to take away, because like I said before, social media can be very overwhelming. And if you're the type of person who does something simply because of what everyone else is doing and don't really have a strategy behind it, it can be very disappointing, like you said, when the phone doesn't ring right away, if that's
Right.
what you expect. So in terms of other types of benefits to social media, in addition to potentially, just getting your name out there, maybe generating leads and letting people know that you're an expert, some of the other benefits include SEO, increasing your rankings on the internet and so forth. Tell us a little bit about that.
So Google loves to see an active social media presence. On the flip side, they really don't like to see a Facebook page that is just sitting there and not being posted on. So if SEO is a concern of yours, getting found on Google, making sure that you're posting regularly to as many social media platforms as you can will help get a bump in those rankings.
Okay, excellent. All right, so, and you mentioned before the way that you can test different types of content, videos versus pictures versus text, and there are probably other avenues as well. How frequently should small business owners adjust and monitor what's working and what's not? How frequently are we talking about doing that?
So we like to make sure that each post that we do for the week, and if we're doing 3 a week, we'll stick with that metric, we make sure that all of those are a different type in the beginning, and then really track that down. And then if we find that video gets the best results, well, then we'll post different videos. We'll post 30-second videos versus 1-minute videos versus 5-minute videos. And then we'll see what people react to. We'll post still images and animated GIFs, and we'll see what people react to. And then every time you check a box off and you know it's working, you break that down into its own tree, and you keep testing those types of content.
Okay, all right, excellent. All right, so let's go back to what is content. I know you said that that's something that your company helps with. Tell us about when you're sharing from other sites, exactly what needs to go into doing that, because I know you said that about 20% of the content should be original, but if a small business owner is simply sharing something from another site, is that seen as credible, or does that affect a person's subject matter expertise perception? How exactly does that impact the social media performance?
I think it proves that they're even more of an expert in their field. It shows that they're doing the research into their industry to then supply their customers with the information that they need, even if it's not written exactly by them.
Okay.
The thing there is you have to make sure that you read it yourself.
Right,
Oftentimes
exactly.
we'll see somebody share something based on the headline, and the article content is different or doesn't support what they wanted it to.
Right.
So you have to make sure that you read the content or watch the video that you're reposting, write a nice few sentence summary, and make sure it aligns with your brand before going ahead and just posting a link.
All right, so it's definitely a lot that goes into effectively managing social media. Is there anything else you want to add with respect to simply effectively using social media that small business owners need to understand?
I think they need to make sure when they go into it that they set the right expectations, the right goals, start testing, always tweak the process,
Right.
and don't give up.
Right, and that's the hard part, not giving up, because it can be very frustrating. Okay, so one of the things that we always like to do before we close out a show is to provide the viewers with 3 action items that they can take action on today and to get things going. So one of the action items that we talked about before is simply selecting a social media platform that fits the business's target. So help us to understand that once again.
Yeah, so I think action item 1 would be find the right platform that fits you. So look at what your competitors are doing, what social media channels are they using, your friends in the industry, what are they doing? Look at your target audience, the people that you're trying to connect to, and figure out what platform they're using, and then start there and create that profile.
Right. And if someone or a business already has a social media profile, they can simply select another one or just make the one that they currently have more robust.
Right, either build out the current one you're using further, because the requirements are always changing in which you need to build out a profile, or go to that second profile that you wanted to start and build that one.
Okay. And one of the things that we didn't talk about before is that you can, or to what extent can you cross-reference your different profiles? If you have a Facebook profile and a LinkedIn profile, can you cross-reference easily between the two so that you don't have to manage 2 platforms independently as a way to do it more efficiently, I guess?
So technically you can.
Okay.
There are programs out there where with the click of a button, you can post to every social media channel at once. The problem with that is Twitter is very text heavy, and Instagram is all images, and Facebook is a combination, and LinkedIn does well with live video now. So there's not one post that's appropriate for every audience.
Right.
If I'm on Instagram and I post a tweet, it's not going to work. There's no picture there, and the audience is looking for photos. So while you can do it all at once, you're not going to give the right content to the users. They're on that platform looking for something else. It also gives them no reason to follow you in multiple channels. If you post the same thing to Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, I only have to follow you on Instagram. I don't need to see what you're posting on LinkedIn. So now you're only giving your 3 posts a week instead of 9 posts a week to your customer.
Okay, that's an interesting point. So there's really no way to get around, manually to some extent posting on each different platform simply because they each have different expectations of the
Exactly.
followers.
Yes,
Okay.
there's no magic social media bullet.
Okay, well, you're going to have to work on that, okay? Okay. The next thing is the second action item is building out the profile. You just mentioned this, but just to recap, building out your profile means what?
Yeah, make sure that every question that they ask you is complete. Most will give you a percentage of completion on the profile. They'll give you tips and steps to complete it. Follow all of those, take the time, don't skip any of them. Facebook's asking for those things for a reason.
Right. And I think related to that, be attuned to what your customers are saying. When people are giving you feedback on your profile or responding to your articles, I would imagine that there's some information in there that could relate to how you build out your profile or what you even post.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. And then the third action item is to actually start posting.
Yeah, let's put some content up.
Okay. So where would a person get started? If they're looking to do this on their own, they want to get their feet wet, so to speak. Where would they go just to start content? Into their bailiwick of knowledge, posting an article? What would you say would be the very first step to post something, or a good first post?
So the first thing I would do is look at the content that they've already created. If they have any blog posts, any About Us sections on their website, is great in the beginning for the first couple posts. You need the information there. Your friends, the people that you've invited to the page, want to see it. And then I really think researching your competitors is a great way to do it, especially if it's a very large company. A lot of us small businesses can't compete with the Coca-Colas, but on social media we can. We can look at what they're doing. We can build a community just like them. We can interact just like them. So take those competitors, they've already done the research, and let's use it to our advantage.
Okay, and that's a good point. When a person is using, has multiple channels for marketing, like newsletters or, something outside of online marketing altogether, why reinvent the wheel if you don't need to? If you have a newsletter, simply borrow information from that newsletter and let it be your content on social media as well.
Absolutely.
So it's good to reuse information, and it's not cheating if you do that.
Right. It's all there. Let's keep promoting it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, do you have any other final thoughts that you want to share with the viewers before we wrap up?
Start using social media. It's important.
Okay, straight and to the point.
Yep.
Well, Mr. Chesler, thank you for joining us
Thank
today.
you.
The information has been very valuable. And thank you for tuning in to C-Suite on Your Street. Be sure to join us again next time to learn more about how to start, run, and grow your small business. And also be sure to connect with us on Facebook at C-Suite on Your Street. Until then, I'd like to leave you with our quote of the month. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of success. Take care.